Hey, Blue Table fans! Regular level of enthusiasm here. Okay, guys, so here's the deal. A lot of times for my rambles, I don't know what to talk about, so I put a post on my Facebook page, and I have two. I have a personal one, which is kind of intermingled with the business now, and a business one. So anyway, I said I'm long overdue for a YouTube ramble. Please give me topics and questions. Oh boy, here it comes. Number one, your thoughts on how YouTube is running their website. Well, I don't know much about it because they send me, I'm a content creator now. Like at some point they give you like a deal where you can monetize your channel. I do not make much money off of that. It's like, what would it be? $9 a month, I think, is the amount that I get from that. So anyway, I found out, so they send me newsletters and updates and stuff, and I really don't read any of that. And I'd certainly be glad to hear about your input on what I could do to actually make something of it. For all those years, really, I just did it to stay in touch with fans and clients, and so I didn't put any ads on them. But then I found out, even if you don't put ads on them, they put ads on them anyway. They're going to make the money. So that's my understanding. So I have actually started putting like skippable video ads on it, and I guess you get those unless you have the subscription, which I think people should have. YouTube Premium or YouTube Red, whatever they call it. It's awesome. I love it. I get a lot out of it. I highly recommend it, and I think people should just do that if you don't like the commercials. Especially if you use YouTube a lot, which I think a lot of people do. So I like YouTube. They haven't done anything other than that sort of, like they just take the money, or they take the advertising revenue if you don't do anything. I thought my stuff was no commercials. So correct me if I'm wrong. And I need to go back on all 5,000 videos and just monetize all of them and see if anything happens there. I doubt it. The real thing that's happening is so many people are doing so much better work for wargaming content that it's amazing. And I'm at a stage now where I'm just like, why even try? Like, what's the return on that going to be? Look at my mug. There's Audrey as a baby. And there's her grandpa. And then there's Luli and baby. Isn't Luli pretty? I like her so much. So anyway, the current state of D&D. Oh, brother! So first off, I come from the world of first edition Dungeons & Dragons, advanced Dungeons & Dragons. Yeah, like the original stuff that was written by Gary Gygax in the late 70s, it was based on old sword and sorcery books. Edgar Rice Burroughs, off the top of my head. And I love that genre. I love the whole feel. And now Dungeons & Dragons is really split. So 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, under the purview of the large host company Wizards of the Coast, is really, it's lost its roots for sure. And it's pretty bland, and it's meant to be palatable to a large group of people and for beginners, and to really hit the mainstream, which is great. That's not a problem. That's what they did. They preserved a lot of the essence of it, the fun of it, but that's not the Dungeons & Dragons that I grew up with in the 80s. Mostly the 80s. Excuse me. And other than that, I don't know much about it. There's a big hubbub about, the open game license. And I get it, when a company gets so big, there's a board of directors, and they're like, hey, what are you doing to, excuse me, to maintain the IP and to expand the company and to make money. And they want to make money. They want to make the big bucks. They have their eye on those big bucks. But unfortunately, there's really a grassroots fan base that shows up armed for bear. And so I won't get into that whole thing because there was a lot of strong opinions about it. And you can just go look up open game license and watch recent videos of it or whatever. But current state of D&D, to my mind, it's it has to do with the adventures. Like we're getting adventures like the Radiant Citadel. Oh, in this adventure, there's a fairy dragon loose in the market. Whatever will the PCs do about it? And then, of course, there's old school rules, which is pretty dark, like human sacrifices to chaos gods and stuff like that. And that's more my speed. The last campaign I did in, well, that's not true. One of the last 3 campaigns I did in high fantasy was Isle of Doom. It was my homage to the old 70s module Isle of Dread. And it had a horror survival Cthulhu twist on it. And my group freaking loved it. And then I ran my souped up, hyper detailed version of Queen of the Demon Web Pits. Again, early 80s D&D module. I love that stuff. I had a paid group that hired me to run a fantasy game, and I did a great job on it. I mean, it was just really, I mean, it was balls to the walls, man. It was great. And so I've had 2 paid games. Nobody's taken me up on the paid games. I was charging $50 or $60 per session, which, by the way, is a bargain because it takes like at least 2 to 4 hours of prep, and then the session was 3 to 4 hours long. So per hour, really not that great. I could have been doing something more useful with my life. So in the future, in fact, I may get on my web store. By the way, check out bluetablestore.com. Go to the luxury services thing, and you'll find something you like. I'm surprised people haven't done more of talk about a topic for 10 minutes or whatever like that, and just got hobby advice, like make me a video showing painting beastmen. You know, that's a bargain. And it's not just the time that I put into it, it's the prep time. All right, so that's my thing. That was David J. asked about current state of D&D. And that's it. The modules are pretty bland. They're colorful, their production value is good, but they're missing that old sword and sorcery vibe to them that I love so much. And that's okay. There's a zillion people doing it great. Zweihander is amazing. Look up that. ZWEI. And Dungeon Crawl Classics, amazing. Goodman Games is redoing old modules, but they're making them like 1.5 inches thick, like these tomes. That's how I based my Isle of Doom on that. And it's just outstanding. It's amazing. Adam V sent me a YouTube link, Dungeons & Dragons movie 1 review. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Maybe I'll put the link in the liner notes. I didn't watch it. I'm sorry. Kyle H. Good miniature skirmish games to look at. Oh my. Okay, first off, I haven't played. Well, Games Workshop makes them. And they are a Games Workshop. They don't just have their basic games. They've got other things that they do. Oh boy. Okay, number 1, Ellanz. E-L-L-A-N-Z. That's my game. Send me an email. I'll send you a PDF of the book. And it's meant to be, it's a role-playing game with miniatures battles baked in. Because that's what I like. And so it is, in a way, a miniatures battles game. And for lots of different types of miniatures. Now, let me think about it. Okay, so for Games Workshop, I'm loving Kill Team. There's a lot to it. It's a lot of fun. And it's super fast-paced. If you know what you're doing, it's 20 to 30 minutes per game. It's awesome. You can just rip through it. And there's a lot to it. There's a Mountain Tabletop, I think is the name of the channel, that does just such good. It's a couple of guys in their basement. They got a Patreon now. They're probably making like $400 or $500 a month, and then they just dump that money right back into production value and models and stuff like that. So they're really good. So Kill Team, I love Kill Team. I can't wait to start in on Warcry. And other than that, I really I've seen Infinity played and was about to get into it, and then it just never materialized. But I would recommend Infinity. War Machine and Hordes are having a terrible time right now. They're having trouble figuring out who they are. They're on 4th edition. I've heard nothing great from the fans about it. And frankly, it'd be a great time to pick up some 2nd or 3rd edition books or PDFs and just pick up a bunch of the models are like dirt cheap online. You can just find these collections, pick them up for nothing, and I don't know. I mean, that game was good. I played a lot of War Machine and Hordes and absolutely loved it. Loved the whole system. They were doing a good job. And I'm sorry they didn't. You know, they should have done better. And usually when companies are having trouble, it comes from the top, because success just kills off companies left and right. Like when you're sleeping in your car and your laser beam focused, that's when things can be going good. Those lead straight on into the golden years. And then of course after that you get the bastards. And if you're an owner of a company, you're probably the bastard that's running the place straight into the ground. And so success can be your worst enemy. Oh, good miniature skirmish games to look at. But Infinity is not like that. The owner, obviously, he's been doing it for a long time, and he's enthusiastic. He's the front man, and the game supposedly is like really good. The books are like shiny. The miniatures are sweet. It's just so great. So in the comments, tell me if there's somebody I missed. What is a skirmish game that you recommend? Okay, here we go. Rick K, who by the way is a great friend of Blue Table Painting. Like a hero of the Imperium. Way up there. Just a great person all around. And he's got his own channels, so definitely look him up. Okay, he has several questions. Check the time. 12 minutes, that's good. Have you cooked anything recently that did not turn out well? Or how you expected? Okay, well, as you guys know, I cook. In 2015, I made it a goal to improve myself by learning how to cook. I didn't know anything about it. For many years, my first wife cooked, and it was just this mystery to me. I was just like, oh, please cook, because I don't understand how to do it. Well, guess what? Anybody can learn how to do it. Just get online. YouTube actually is a good resource for it. I started looking at Gordon Ramsay's instructional videos. There's a zillion other great ones out there, and he doesn't he's not that character in the tutorials. So yeah, I learned a lot, and it usually takes me about 10 times to get a recipe right. And I do a good job. But to answer your question, no, not really, because I haven't tried any new things. Did I try something? No, I tried coconut soup. And like with the stuff in it, like lemongrass and whatever, and that turned out great. It was like really easy to do. I also did chickpea curry, and that turned out just like I wanted. So I haven't had failures recent. Chickpea curry, you just put in a can of rinsed, very well rinsed chickpeas, because it has like this goo in it from like the chickpea juice. You don't want that. That stuff is gross. And then I put some olive oil and salt and cumin and some curry powder. And then I dry those chickpeas, and then I just put in a thing full of coconut milk and some other ingredient, onions or whatever, and it's good, but it's real, like it's got a lot of carbohydrates in it because of those chickpeas. So really, you want to just put it over rice. But now you got the rice, which is a lot of calories too. But it tastes good. Coconut rice with coconut yellow curry coconut chickpea. Chickpea curry? Yellow chickpea curry. Yeah, that's it. And of course all my stuff is like Americanized. You know, Gordon Ramsay and a lot of other chefs are like, chop up 2 chili peppers, leave the seeds in. And I'm like, no. No, I want a baby to be able to eat my food. I'm the baby. All right, what kind of vehicle do you drive? I don't drive any vehicle. I actually have not got to the point in my life where I can have a car again. And that's the truth. And that speaks to how determined I am and laser focused I am to making sure the studio is on solid ground. But I do have a car because of my wife. She owns one. But that never has been mine. Okay, do you have a favorite local game store? Yeah, sure. Salt Lake City and Utah in general is famous for having like a zillion game shops. And there are. It's thick. The competition is fierce. I don't go to it But one of my favorites is Blackfire Games. It's owned by a guy named Gary Taylor, and he's a stand-up citizen of the community. I've known him since I started BTP. I think I met him in 2005. He actually painted for me for a little while. And that's when he was like, I'm thinking of starting a game store. I'm like, you should do it. That's a great path in life. But he's made it real successful. And he has other ventures going on. He has like an escape room. And he's just a nice, good person. And then up here in the Salt Lake area, I really love Demolition Games. They made us welcome. They have a great gaming area. And when we were a little dispossessed, we were able to go there and call it home, in a way. We didn't sleep there, of course. In Sandy, which is about 20 minutes south of mine, there's Gajo Games. And that place, their claim to fame is they have every 40K kit you could possibly want, sometimes 6 or 12 deep. A Games Workshop rep's dream, where they're like, you need to buy a minimum of 28 copies of Leviathan to be favored. And it's like, brother. And then there's other ones. Paragon, supposedly good. But, and then of course now, I don't have a game shop, but I do have my little swanky studio, and that makes me very, very happy, and we do something about once a week. So we'll see if anything comes of that. When playing a tabletop RPG, this is still Rick, how do you determine when an encounter warrants playing it out on the table with terrain versus theater of the mind? My answer to that is 100% miniatures all the time. So even if they're back in town and they're at a shop and I don't have a map for it, we still got those miniatures out. And we use them like little props to tell the story. But the answer, of course, would be if it's a tactical scenario and it's combat and you got to figure out range and position and cover and stuff like that, have miniatures. And of course, the ideal is to have a lot of miniatures and a lot of terrain. Something that I have, but not a giant space to store it in and have it handy. So I'm still working on that. Dylan L. I think you should do one on this. Read the whole article and you can thank me later. So, okay, the rumor come out, does Bruno Mars is gay? Okay, so I did look at this this article, and I think it was just like a part of it was the joke on the syntax. That, of course, it was whatever. Let's see. Craig P. I know you're somewhat of a proponent of AI use for gaming art. If you haven't already talked about that, I imagine that would be interesting. Well, that's for another entire video, and actually did make an entire video of it. Long story short, people are up in arms about it, and they should be. There's lots of different reasons. There's the, if you're not familiar with this, I really can't get you up to speed in as little a time as I want to spend on this particular question. Basically, I wouldn't call myself a proponent of AI art. It's just worked out for me. Like, for my book, my Elan's Player Handbook, I had no way of getting those pictures. Zero chance of me getting it illustrated, much less the way that I wanted. And because of color picture costs between $500 and $1,500 to do a scratch artist. Sometimes I bet even more for like Wizards of the Coast or Paizo, they probably pay a lot more. And so I get it. It's no joke to lose your job to new technology. It's no joke to lose your job at all. And that's happened to me. So I've known the frustration, the dispossession of it, and it's not great. But in terms of just my book, Midjourney, that creates this artificial intelligence art, I was able to at least get art to fill the gaps. And it is not better than a human. No way. But it is nice to just have it done and be able to use it commercially just because. So in society and legally, it remains to be seen what the heck is going to happen. So people who are up in arms about it, who are like, oh, this is, it's plagiarism or whatever it is, I get that. I am not unsympathetic. I am sympathetic to that viewpoint. But there's another side to it, and in my particular case, it allowed me to illustrate my book. Now, when I copyrighted my book, I had to take all the illustrations out and just send text, because only the text is. But there's ways around that. Like you can take the AI art and you can have somebody change it commercially, improve it, do alterations on it, and then you can have another person do that. And by the end, you have enough humanness in it. And if you get that copyright permissions, like corporate use, then you really can use it and it can be yours. But we're entering a world where, because of AI art and how quickly and easily it can be generated, the value of art is going to, on one level, is going to be moot. And I think, oh yeah, I'm already into the thing. But I still see people, they make art. My uncle, he makes brand new, fresh, brilliant art every single day, hot off the presses, straight up from a human mind. And it's incredible. So I think people that paint or do that sort of thing, and especially if they get a little bit of social media and show themselves actually making it, I don't think the human value is going to go away. And right now, an AI, although it has many advantages, oh boy, there's just nothing to replace a human that can actually, think of something and make it have just this emotion to it. That I saw a piece of art, it was just the most amazing thing. It was like this elven maiden, she's on her knees, and she's next to like this decapitated dragon. Not a giant one, but it's just like, and her sword is just limp in her hands, and like just the expression, the positioning, the emotion of it was just outstanding. It told a whole thing. So that's it. That's kind of a blurb on AI art. How am I doing? Oh, I'm to 21 minutes. All right, I gotta make another video. All right, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and thanks for tuning in.